Just remember.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. This is Mark Lucchese, also known as Mark at the Mic, and my guest today is Frank Hunt, who was born and raised in San Francisco. Frank attended and graduated from Reardon High School and the University of San Francisco. He lived for a short while in Millbrae before moving to Burlingame in 1988. Frank had a long and successful career with the Bank of America and was the bank manager of the Burlingame branch located at 400 El Camino Real, just across the street from Molly Stone's Market. And that's my plug for Molly's today. After retiring from the Bank of America, Frank went on to coach cross-country and track for Skyline College, Burlingame High School, and Aragon High School for 25 years, proving that it's never too late to reinvent yourself and that retirement isn't an ending, it's a beginning. And now my conversation with Frank Hunt. Frank Hunt, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to this old dude.
Well, Frank, I'm just a little younger than you as an old dude, so I'm getting to be an old dude myself, right?
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Keep on doing it.
Absolutely. We have a lot of water under the bridge, I think, as they say.
You got it.
Before I get into this whole show with you, I know you've had some health issues, some cancer issues in the past, and you've been battling, and you're still battling, and I think you're doing amazing. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what you went through with the whole cancer thing?
Sure, absolutely. Being out in the sun all the time as a runner, never using sunscreen, the first things I dealt with were skin cancer. Those aren't really that bad, to be honest with you, except it did cost me the bottom part of my lip. But really, the cancer that I'm struggling with now started about 5 years ago. It's in my mouth. I had an operation 5 years ago. They took out teeth on my lower left side, and I was good for about 3 years. Then it reoccurred, and that was the tough one. They had to replace my jaw because not only did I have it in the gum area, but it had gotten into my jawbone. So they had to take the good news is we come with extra parts. I didn't realize that until this took place. And they took a bone out of my lower right leg that apparently you don't need. At least they told me you don't. And they made a new jaw for me with that. There's a plate in there and a screw. Couple of screws. In fact, one of the screws is coming out right now. That was another challenge. And that was okay, and I was doing pretty good up till then, even with that major replacement of the one side of my jaw. But then the cancer spread to the front teeth area. That has now caused me to not be able to eat like a regular person.
Oh, boy.
And watching a football game or a basketball game or a baseball game, any show, it's all about food for the most part. And nowadays, big pharma advertising their drugs. So I can't bite into anything. I still have 4 teeth left on my right side, but no, I hope nothing happens. But the way it's been marching around the bottom jaw, I have all my upper teeth. So now my wife, without her, I wouldn't be here, folks, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But without her, she has to make everything pureed for me. So I basically either eat things that are very, very soft, or for the most part, she makes me morning mush, cereal, whatever you want to call it, like cream of wheat or something like that, and I have to suck that through a straw. And for the evening meal, she also makes me like a very thick soup, but it's made up of vegetables, some nights beef pureed in it, noodles, and she's doing a heck of a job keeping me around. And that's my motivation. But I wouldn't wish cancer on anybody. Obviously, it's not a good thing no matter where it is. Skin cancer wasn't too bad, but this is really a challenge.
Frank, were you a smoker?
No, never smoked. Haven't had a drink for 37 years.
Congratulations on that.
Don't know they don't know why I got it. Just
It wasn't from the skin cancer.
No, I've asked them that repeatedly,
Right.
and they say absolutely no. I don't understand it because I did have it on my lip, and they had to take off my bottom lip. That was the last thing they've done.
Yeah.
Second to last thing, other than the front teeth. And now I really don't have. And folks, if I sound a little funny, I'm doing the best I can talking.
You're doing great. Where did all the work get done? All the surgery?
I've been while I'm with Sutter Health. I have United Healthcare, and I do Sutter Health for the last 30 years. When this was discovered, I was at my periodontist, and I had like white dots. That's how it started, with a white dot. My thought was it was I don't know, some kind of an infection or something of that nature. And they did a biopsy, came back as cancer, squamous cell cancer. And I asked the periodontist.
Yes.
Putting my foot in my mouth.
That was clever.
Unintended. But,
yes.
Anyway, I said, where would you go, or who would you recommend? And he recommended Dr. Kaplan, who was the head of head and neck oncology at Stanford. And Stanford's a teaching facility as well as being regular physicians. And he did the initial surgery. And there was no follow-up needed because they thought they had everything out. And as I said, I was good for about 3 years.
Right.
And it resurfaced. The second time when they did the bone, I had 30 sessions of radiation. I had to go down there every day during the week for 6 weeks, no Saturday and Sunday, and had radiation. And FYI for everybody, apparently once you have radiation, it's a one-time trick that they use. And because radiation can also cause cancer.
Correct.
Yeah. So
what are you saying? It's a one-time around?
When they do that concentration, yeah.
Right. Wow.
I have a friend, Randy. He had prostate. Same thing. He had 25 days of radiation, and he got the same comment afterwards. This is like a one-time shot. They try to kill all the cancer with it, but if you notice, I don't have any hair on the left side of my cheek, so I shave only half my face.
Hey, that's quicker in the morning, right?
Absolutely.
Nothing like speed.
So there is benefit, I guess.
There you go. And if you don't mind, I'll piggyback on that because you mentioned skin cancer.
Yeah.
I just found out that I have 4 or 5 moles that are going to be dealt with next week. And I was one of those guys, too, that had many years in the sun, and because I thought, I got the Italian skin, I'm not going to need any suntan lotion. Well, it caught up with me, and I'm going to be worked on next week, and I think that's real important for everybody
you're not
out
alone.
there.
There's a lot of people in our age group. There was not enough. In fact, when we were kids, at least I did, we used to cover ourselves in baby oil.
That's correct. It was the oil of choice, wasn't it? The lotion of
choice. To get the tan,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Tan felt good, but and I used to run bare-shirted when I started running. So, and my doctors have all told me the same thing. This is from years ago. This isn't a current thing.
Right. It's just catching up with us a little bit.
It starts to manifest itself.
Frank, thanks for sharing that with everybody. I really appreciate that. It's just
no problem.
It's real important.
If I can help anybody, I certainly appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. All right, we're going to move to a little bit of lighter stuff right now. I like to have fun facts during my show. I usually open up with the fun facts.
Yes.
And I have I think I have 3 fun facts about you personally, okay? So I'm going to share. I thought this one was pretty cool. It caught my eye because, it hit home. After graduating from USF, you went to work in the grocery business for a small mom-and-pop store in San Francisco, correct?
Correct. Well, actually, I was working there as a junior or senior in high school.
And you continued after graduation?
And I continued when I was going to college, yes.
After I graduated, I went to work for a mom-and-pop store as well.
Yes.
That mom-and-pop was my parents.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was kind of funny that we shared that little thing, but this couple other fun facts I'd like to share. You are a movie memorabilia collector. Is that correct?
That's
wow.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about your collections and how long have you been collecting things?
Well, I started with a picture of Superman from 1948 when they made a cereal, which were aimed at children, Superman, live action. It wasn't cartoons, so there was a live action Superman. So I was at a antique show at the San Mateo Fairground, and one of the guys there had photos from movies, and some of them signed. So I saw this one, I bought it. So then I said, maybe I better get a Batman. And I started looking for that.
How old were you at this time, give or take?
So I had to be. Well, I retired at 60 in early 2000, so I had to be in my 50s.
So you started that up your 50s.
Yeah, but I love movies. I went to movies all the time.
Yeah.
And even as a kid, I used
Right.
to, believe it or not, when we used to go to the show as kids, it was 15 cents to get in.
Right.
Saturday matinee. They always showed a serial, a chapter play, that you had to come back next week to see.
That's great.
They would show 2 cowboy movies, 3 Stooges, cartoons. So that was Saturday afternoon. Yeah. And that's how it all started.
So you started collecting and collecting and collecting. Would you have everything in one room or what?
Well, I have it spread out. It's in rooms. It's in closets. I've moved into, as movie collectors do, you get one. They call it a one sheet. It's the poster they put out in front of the theater to advertise what's there or what's coming, and so those date back to the 20s, 10s for that, 1920 10s, and so that I started looking for Superman or Batman serial movie posters, and they became pricey because they were meant to be thrown away.
Right.
They were shipped from town to town in the same container that the movies film was shipped, and so everything was folded so it would be 11 by 14. That was the same size as the lobby cards that they would put up to also advertise the show, which would show scenes from the show that they were showing, whether it was a chapter play or whether it was a main event.
Right.
Today you don't see you really don't see lobby cards much. You see the lighted one-sheet poster. They call them one-sheet.
One-sheet
that we
poster.
see, and those are basically now two sides. There's 2 sides to them. It's basically a film that they can light up. In the old days, the light was shined on it rather than through it.
Yeah.
So these old posters that were floating around, some of them would go for, nowadays, certain ones, like King Kong or some of the others, go for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No kidding.
Well, they weren't meant to be collected.
So is it mostly posters that you collected, or do you have any little characters or anything like that? Is it
Well,
mostly posters?
I have movie posters, lobby cards, the photos, original ones. Those are expensive from the original cut. Now they can reproduce them, but the original ones always go, like a Charlie Chan movie, that would be $50 or $60. I didn't pay that for all these, but some of them, I have one Superman poster that's what they call a 3-sheet, so it's 81 inches tall and 40-something wide.
Wow.
I know that Seinfeld has one in his house,
Yeah.
and they go for somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000.
My God. So do you keep them rolled up, or are they on exhibit? When
Some
you
of them
walk
are exhibit.
Yeah.
I can't. I probably have 400 or 500 posters.
Right. So the house would be wallpapered
Oh, you
with
you couldn't do it.
movie posters.
So I have some rolled up.
Yeah.
And to save them, you put them. They do something called linen backing, and that's really it goes on the canvas with Japanese rice paper, backing, and they wet the canvas. They bleach the poster. Now you think if you bleach a poster, the people that do this, the people that are adept at doing it. I had a friend, Jim Sanchez, that did mine. They usually charge around $80, and if they have to do any work on them, like if there's a piece missing, they'll send that in. You would never know it was missing, and it's an expensive process, but it saves them.
Yeah.
So I have most of them on what they call linen vac. So
Pretty
they're
cool.
just like, they look like the day they came out of the printer. And what the bleaching does, it pops all the white in the poster and brings everything out.
It makes it pop.
Yeah, it makes it really pop.
Okay.
But you have to, if you bleach it the wrong way, you don't have a poster. Anyway, it's been a fun.
Yeah, and you all and also you mentioned Superman, but you mentioned Batman, right? And I think you have a friend or had a friend,
Yes.
Lewis Wilson,
Correct.
who was the original Batman from the 1943 movie serials that you could
Correct.
see on Saturdays.
Love that man, yes.
So what's up with that? Where'd you meet him?
Well, that's another long story.
Okay.
But a funny one. The first thing I ever got was the original Superman signed, right? So I said, I liked Superman and Batman as a kid. I wish I had comic books. My mother threw a lot of stuff away.
Yeah.
So I said, I got to find this guy, Lewis Wilson, if he's alive. So I had a friend of a friend that had a detective. Now, this is before the internet was really as it is today. This guy said, probably take me. I said, if he's alive, he's got to be in his 70s. And the guy, I had read that he had died in the 60s. And I said, but if he's alive, I'd like to track him down. So he called me back, and I used to go down to L.A., Hollywood, because that's where they used to have a show at the Beverly Garland Hotel every 3 months where movie memorabilia dealers came to sell their stuff. And that's where I would dig around looking for things. And
At the Beverly Garland?
Beverly Garland Hotel. She was a movie star, too, at one point. But she was I think it was originally Gene Autry's ranch, one of his holdings, right? And he sold a lot of property and became a very wealthy guy. Anyway, so I said, I go down there all the time. He came back, he said, this detective, he said, well, if he's alive, there's a guy that could be him in Washington State, and there's another guy in North Hollywood. I said, oh, I'm going to go there. He had the address. I said, I'll go to his house. So I was down there for one of my weekend shows, like I said, about every 3 months. And on a Sunday, I drove to his place, which was pretty close to
it's pretty close to the Beverly Garland.
the Beverly Garland Hotel.
Yeah.
And I walk up to the front door of this house, knock on it, nondescript. It was in an area that probably was pretty nice in its day, but had seen better times. Yeah. Knocked on his door, and this huge man opened the door. Wide, huge man. And I said, are you the Batman? He said, who are you? I said, I'm Frank Hunt from San Francisco, and I'm looking for Lewis Wilson, the Batman. A voice in the background was a young woman, one of his daughters. She said, Dad, invite the man in. He wasn't about to admit anything, so he did. He invited me in. We sat and talked for a couple hours, and he signed a picture, and I gave him stuff I had picked up at the show. I gave him a photo because he had nothing of his career. After that, we became fast friends. Every 3 months, I was down there.
Whenever you came down to the Beverly Garland, you would stop by and see him.
When he was turning 80, his daughter, he had 2 daughters by a second marriage and 2 sons. One had died of cancer. And Lou had heart problems, and he had not stopped eating, unfortunately. Anyway, he had another son by his first wife, who happened to be Michael Wilson, who is the owner, or was until they sold it for a few $1 billion to MGM for the James Bond movies.
No kidding.
Yep. So he he had the daughters put together a surprise party for Lou for his 80th birthday. And that was the first time I met him face to face. And he picked up the tab for that because Lou didn't have any money, nor did his daughters. Yeah. He had paid for the 2 daughters, which weren't his kids, or his wife's kids, to go to college. Yeah. Michael, nice man. He married Covey Broccoli, who was Broccoli, and I'm trying to think of the other guy's name, started with an A. But those are the guys that bought James Bond from Ian Fleming for, little or no money.
Amazing.
And made millions of dollars.
Were you able to go to that 80th birthday party?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No
I was
kidding.
invited.
Terrific.
What they did is they invited people that used to live in the neighborhood. And so they tracked down, there was only probably about 20 people, told maybe 30 at the most.
Yeah.
And I had the power seat right next to Lou at the head table. And Michael was a few seats.
Yeah,
well, yeah, no, I mean, it was really nice. And Michael was just what a nice man,
Yeah.
He was very open with me.
Great.
I remember his daughters went on vacation one year to Hawaii for a week, and I said, what I'll do is I'll call Lou every day and make sure he's up and around. And I did. I called him every day and we talked.
Oh, that's great.
And one year I had a December Christmas party for my staff from BofA here, and it was potluck. I brought a turkey and they brought the makings.
Right.
And it was coming whenever you wanted. I got a phone call. So somebody said, who was that? Because they thought it was somebody that was supposed to show up. I said, that was the vet man. He called me. Anyway, but the next time I saw Michael was at his dad's death. He died.
How long ago was that?
Well, he died, never made it to 81.
Yeah.
And he passed away. Wow. He passed away of an aneurysm in his lower stomach. He had terrific pain. And they got him to the hospital, and they told him you have a 20% chance. But he had a 100% chance of dying if they didn't do something.
Right.
And he never made it off the table.
Sorry to hear that.
And that was the last time. I didn't see him then, but we had talked, periodically. But yeah, very sad. But nice man. I saw him every time. I'd always try to find him something about him when I found something. And always gave him something. Good. So...
good story.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you for sharing that. You ready to get the show on the road here?
I hope so.
Okay. So you mentioned BofA here in Burlingame, and we mentioned that in the intro. Why don't you I kind of left off with you at being a junior or senior and working for mom and pop store up in San Francisco. Why don't you share a little story of how you got into banking and what drew you specifically to the Bank of America and how you wound up here and serving the Burlingame community? It's a pretty cool story. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, once I got out of college, I was going out with a young lady that was going to San Francisco State, and she decided she was going to transfer her senior year down to San Jose State and do the student teaching down there and hoping to get a job in Silicon. At that time, there was no Silicon Valley in Santa Clara County. Right. So when she was down there, she encouraged me to move. So I really was kind of not doing anything at the time other than doing a little bit of working still at the mom and pop. And I was in the Retail Clerks Union.
Which was nice.
Right?
You
had to redo that. Uh-huh. So the first thing I did when I got down there is I applied to Dick's. Well, I applied to the union to see if there were any jobs, and they sent me to Dick's Supermarket. It was a chain down there at the time. Big difference working for a supermarket than mom and pop.
Yeah.
Mom and pop was very personal, and Dick's Supermarket was, are you done doing this or are you done doing that, you know? And if not, why? And if not, if you are, get over here and do this. Yeah. So, they got their money's worth. And I knew that's not what I was going to really do when I got out of school because I had a VSVA. And business was what I originally went to USF, by the way, to become a U.S. history teacher. That's what I wanted to teach.
No kidding.
Yeah. So eventually I ended up teaching at Skyline College and City College, but banking and finance.
Right.
And that was another whole story. Anyway, getting back to how I got into the bank, somebody suggested I go to the main branch down there, the San Jose Main, because they had a training officer that hired for all the banks in the area for training programs. And the bank offered management training programs to college grads. And they were either in operations or lending. Obviously, lending self-explanatory, making loans, right?
Right.
Operations was primarily running the personnel of the bank, of the various departments. And back in those days, before computers, you had bookkeeping, you had safe deposit, which you still do. You had the tellers, of course. You have a note department that processes all the loan processing. And so it was a very going job. You had a lot of employees. I think at one time I had 70 employees at BofA here, which we would say is crazy.
Here in Burlingame?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because we were in actually three. We had a offshoot across the parking lot where we did our getting the work of the day that came across the counter ready for the data center to be picked up and taken to the data center in San Francisco.
Yeah.
after I took the job down here, I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but after I took the job, they decided that the Broadway branch didn't need a manager, that I could manage both. They had a lending officer and an operations officer, but they didn't have a manager. I was doing both. By the way, no money for that.
Yeah, no extra money.
Oh, no, not at all.
Just an extra hat to wear.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
So that was how, but getting back to, so I went and applied for the job for a training program. And I said, I think I'd rather be in the operations. I like people. Right. As much as I loved accounting, which I didn't, and that was part of the deal you need in lending. You need your financial statement analysis, accounting 1, 2, and beyond. And I decided I think I'd like to try the operations side. So he sent me out to Valley Fair, the training officer that was responsible for hiring these programs, because they're going to put you in a branch to actually learn. And they called it the LCI program, Learner Controlled Instruction.
What was it again?
Learner Controlled Instruction.
Okay, great.
And you had to finish your program between 6 and 9 months, because you controlled, to some degree, how you learned. And that was, it might take one person 2 weeks to learn how to be a teller, another person 3, then they go to the safe deposit, might take that guy 3, and you won. So everybody was different, but it made you move ahead quickly if you wanted to. And so I went out to interview to see, he sent me out to be interviewed by a bank manager. Well, he sent me to Valley Fair, and the bank manager was on vacation, probably lucky for me. The guy that was there was Gene Del Monte. He was assistant manager. And he interviewed me, and we talked mostly about San Francisco. He was a San Francisco kid.
Right.
We knew people, and certainly I passed.
Yeah, you had
Thank God the other guy was not there.
You had a chemistry going right away.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We talked more about that than why I wanted a job. So I went that, they sent that in, and next thing I know, I got assigned there to be trained, which was good. And I worked for a guy named, God, I can't remember his name, but he was tough. He made sure, and one of the things that these operation managers did, if it was busy and they did an extra teller, but I was now learning how to do something else, Frank, get over here and open
a window, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you couldn't say no, but it was taken away from what you were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, correct.
But they used you, which is okay, as long as they didn't abuse you, Yeah. So I learned a lot there, and then I got assigned, before I was actually finished, like a lot of companies, they move you on to the next thing. So I was sent to Los Gatos branch, and they were in the process of moving from their old building to the new one that was being built on Main Street. So while that was all going on, I was now the assistant operations officer there, except I hadn't really gotten into the personnel end of it. So I had a guy named Everett Merch was my manager. Every day, things crossed his desk, ended up on my desk. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you ever had
he was the great delegator then, or what?
Oh, he was absolutely. All he had on his desk was his nameplate, set of pens, and a ashtray because he smoked. Right. Everybody did.
Yeah.
I didn't, but he did. And I had also an in basket. So things ended up in the in basket.
Right.
Then that got filled. I got 2 extenders so I could have another in basket on the in basket. And that got filled. One day I came back from lunch. I had no in basket, but I had a lot of paper sitting on my desk. Everett sat down with me and he said, Hunt, you need to get rid of this stuff. Just because I give it to you doesn't mean you have to do it. Delegate. So he started giving me some practical tips. Use the people around you. And I became a great delegator.
He taught you the fine art of delegation.
Absolutely. And you know what? That saved my career. Yeah, because I definitely was behind.
You felt like you were getting snowed on, right?
Yeah,
Just
and he was
he
was a tough dude, but he was a good dude,
Yeah.
And taught me so much. In fact, as I moved ahead after that, he was my resource if I needed any help, and also in the bank, you probably don't know this, but I don't know how it works in supermarkets, but we were audited both by the Bank of America's internal auditing group and the comptroller of currency, who lets you a bank do business at that location. So every place there's a B of A, that had to be approved by the comptroller of currency. Anyway, the long short story was that the idea was you were audited A, B, C, F. There was no D. If you got an A, that was tremendous. If you got anything, if you got an F, you were in deep trouble.
Right.
You were probably gone.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate that in most places I went, we did very well. I like to think I played some small part, but I know that it was the people around me.
Yeah.
That's hiring people was always critical.
Well, you're only as good as the guys around you, right?
And you have to respect them and appreciate them and take care of them.
Absolutely.
And Everett, I would always call him every time I was audited to tell him, Ev, thank you for doing that.
Did you know you were going to be audited, or would they come in unannounced?
No, the only key you had was between 12 and 15 months. But they could come sooner or later.
Right.
If you got audited by the controller of currency, you're probably good till 15 months.
Yeah.
And you never knew when the feds were coming.
Okay.
And they everything was double checked and double checked. Yeah. You know, for somebody to cheat or steal, it would be very difficult. Yeah. When they came in, they would show up. Remember, banks were open from 9 to 3 and 9 to 6 on Friday, and closed Saturday and Sunday.
Is that where that expression came? Hey, you've got banker's hours?
Exactly. Only a lot took place between 8 and 9.
Yeah.
And after hours. Believe me,
hours,
a
right.
lot took place. Yeah. But anyway, they checked. The first night they were there, anything that had to do with immediate loss of funds, like cash, cashier's checks, traveler's checks, all those vaults were sealed. And then they stayed there and counted everything of that nature so that you could open up the next morning.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
How many years did you spend with the Bank of America before you got to Burlingame?
Well, I went through the operations phase. Then I was made regional training officer. The same job the guy that hired me, I got that job. And I was in what they call the San Francisco North Coast. That was all the Bank of America's on this side of the bay, down to Santa Clara County, and up to the Oregon border.
That's a pretty big stretch.
It was about 150, 60 Bank of Americas.
Yeah.
And my job was to hire trainees. We also promoted people from within. If you had a good person in the bank, you know, at that time, we went real aggressive with hiring women. And sometimes women would take the job as a part-time job where they're helping feed the family. And all of a sudden, the kids are grown. Now they've been around for 10 years. And, hey, I like this. And I would recommend people, when I was an operator, this person could be doing my job. Because they were. I'd make sure that they learned.
Right.
So so I got the training job. And I had already started teaching college. When I was at Stonestown, the person I replaced took the training job, the operations guy, Derry Murphy. And he had been teaching at City College not daily, 3 days a week at 3 o'clock.
In the evening? Oh, at 3 o'clock.
Yeah. So, and the bank wanted him to do it. Good PR.
Absolutely.
And people there were interested in banking, obviously. So they encouraged me to do it, and I wanted to be a teacher. It was like, oh boy,
Right.
But I did have to go. They gave me they give you a temporary community college credential, but within 2 years you have to take a class on teaching, which really the first year I must have been a bozo, but. First day I walked into City College, the good news was I got to park right close to my classroom.
That's a pretty good deal.
Oh, that was a first. I went in, but my name on the blackboard, didn't have whiteboards then, name on the blackboard, and put down the book's name and the author, and said, read chapter 1, I'll see you one day.
Seriously?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, that's what I remember from when I went to college.
Yeah, right.
First day, the prof usually just kind of let you go and gave you something. Then I said, what the hell am I going to do the next time? But I did have a syllabus from the other teacher, the guy that I replaced, he gave me all his materials. So it was a pretty good transition. I just didn't learn some of the tricks of the trade, if you want to call them that, for teachers. For example, if you wanted to get people communicating with you, you'd set the room up so they face each other. Well, if you do that, what happens? They start talking across all you had to do, you would then walk up and down between them. That cuts off the conversation.
Right.
First day of class, have them introduce each other. All the name, whereabouts they're from, and why they're taking the class, or something simple. So that breaks the ice for they all have to do it the first day. Breaks the ice and helps them ask questions. But those are things I didn't know year one.
Right. You knew the year two, though.
Yeah, so I got through that. Now I have a permanent credential for teaching at community college, banking and finance, if I ever wanted. And then I went on the Skyline at night and taught for 7 years there. And since I never had any children, it was a way for me to get my money back from the school districts for all the taxes I paid.
Yeah, all the taxes that went in, all the bonds and all that.
They did pay you well. You were part-time, but they paid you the same hourly wage that they would, actually a little better than the tenured employees.
Because you weren't getting benefits, probably?
Exactly.
Right.
So you paid you a little bit better. So it was good.
Okay. When did you come to Burlingame?
Came to Burlingame, I believe, towards the end, either the end of 83 or the beginning of 84. I looked it up, but I can't remember.
You were there for about 11 years?
Yeah, I was there 11 years. But Aldo Simonetti was the manager.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Do you know him?
Fellow Rotarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful guy.
Yeah. So he was retiring, and I had, when I was in San Francisco, so when I left the training job, I had to become a trainee again, after 10 years or so of being a banker, and had to learn the lending aspect. And when I finished that, they placed me at San Francisco main office, which was really a bonus to me.
Sounds like a big bank. Was it a big place?
It was the biggest branch of Bank of America in the state.
Yeah.
It was, as Newsom always likes to brag, California is the fourth or fifth GDP in the nation. Well, BofA would have been, that branch would have been the eighth largest bank. Now, all those things said, when you brag about that kind of stuff, you're not bringing in all the support you have to do that. Believe me, they couldn't break off from BofA to become the biggest bank because it's being supported by data and everything else, Yeah. So the same thing with the GDP in California. People shouldn't get enamored by that because we don't have our own army, we don't have our own supplies or certain things. So it makes a big difference. Anyway, so I'm there, and I'm on what they call a platform, and we were in groups of 4 at the time, and everybody in my group are MVAs. I'm just a VA, VS, or VSVA guy.
Right.
Probably better VA, VS guy. But so I same thing. I was put there before I was fully trained, and now I'm making loans to people for their businesses, big businesses, not mom and pop stores.
You were making healthy loans.
Oh yeah, absolutely, lines of credit, and they immediately gave me 50 clients that were already there, and some of them were big names like the Bronson McKinnon law firm, which I don't even know if they're around anymore. Crown Zellerback. I mean, we had all kinds of, in our group, we had all the 49ers, the Giants, the Raiders, even the Boston Celtics, the Golden State Warriors. I think they were the San Francisco Warriors then, in our group. So each of us had this portfolio.
Right.
And so it was a tremendous, I had to hit the ground running. And I would turn down a loan, and then I would have to say, I start getting into something else. The customer would ask me something, and I didn't know the right answer. And one of the guys with me, Lee was his name, he'd say, Frank, you went down a rabbit hole. So he told me, next time, here's what you say in response. So I was learning by bits and pieces. Well, while I was there, they decided, Boston Consulting, BofA had private banking in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. Boston, that was only for the 0.5% earner in the state. And
gosh.
you're talking about
Yeah.
that would be a Musk type person or a Spielberg. Or
Big
those are the
bucks.
kind of clients.
Big bucks, right.
Big bucks, right. So our Boston Consulting says, now you got to go after BofA. You've got clients that are in the 1 and 1.5%, some ready to move up to the 0.5%. Right. And some of the 0.5% people are going to move down because something will go wrong in their industry. So you want to be able to protect those. And so they decided they would do 5 pilots. And one of them was San Francisco main office. I was asked by my manager to head up that pilot program. It meant leaving the bank for 1 month and going through certified financial planning, a 6-month class at UC Berkeley that was condensed into a 1-month learning session. And I had to pick also 4 other people to join me. Well, 3 other, so it would be 4 of us that were going to handle this portfolio and teach it. We had to learn what we were looking for, how we were going to do it, and then what we could offer those customers that weren't yet private bankers.
But you had to take this course at Berkeley?
They did it downtown.
Yeah.
And they brought Berkeley over.
So it was all day long?
Oh, all day and sometimes into the night, dinner,
Yeah, right,
and then
because
night.
you had to cram it in there.
Oh, yeah. It was, again, you didn't learn all the nooks and crannies when you do something like
Right.
that. But we learned enough to get in trouble, probably. Yeah. And they gave us we had to learn computers. Now, remember, computers at that time worked on modems, which was a phone connected to a box, which was connected to the computer.
Which took a long time. Everything was a long time.
Yeah, and everything was on floppy disks. Mm-hmm. So all these programs that we learned about at Cal, does somebody have too much life insurance? What's the cost of carrying a loan versus future cost of earnings on the money that they're going to use versus do I borrow or use my own? I mean, it was very complex at that time, certainly for me. And I surrounded myself with some very smart people.
Yeah,
I'm no dummy. And we started up, and at first we were sitting back where the rest of the people were, and I finally said, we can't do this after a month because people would walk up to our desk that wanted some help in a loan, and we'd have to turn them away. And, why are you turning them away when... So I told my manager, we got to do something. So they moved us up right next to private banking in the main building, which was on the 2nd floor. Nice digs, let me tell you. And now the only way you'd get there is be invited.
Yeah.
And so we were mining our own mining, like in gold mining.
Right.
We were doing that with our own customers.
Man.
I had my secretary go through the loan files that we had, and you had to exclude the person's real estate. We were looking for money. And we mined, I told her what we were looking for, and I said, go through different ones, not just the age, not just... So she came back with, I think, a couple of hundred. We divide them up, and they were our first clients that we were going to reach out to and offer this new service that the bank had created. Didn't even have a name. It ended up being called Customized Financial Services.
Uh-huh.
And we were moved up right next to private banking. And it was interesting because they had a guy, Al Seelix, owned Seelix. He and his brother owned Seelix Formalware. But they were really real estate barons, to be truthful with you. And he, in turn, had Ed Goodman, who was Goodman Lumber. And originally, Al had been in the group before with my boss in my little 4-man group when I first went into the branch. Wasn't one of my customers, but he was moved to private banking when they established that, along with Ed Goodman Lumber. And so Seelix and Goodman were really close friends. So he said, you got to be with Frank. So my good friend, Dick Ashby, was running private banking. I said, Al wants to... Dick said, no problem. I said, everything we'll do, you get credit for. Any new money, any loans. He said, no, I know Al, no problem. You take care of those. Anybody that he wants to bring over to you, take care of them. So once I did that for about a year and a half, first 6 months, I think we made $6,000. Yeah, $60,000. Yeah, $60,000.
$60,000?
Yeah, in revenue as a startup. I went down and I showed everything to, when you run what do you call it? What did I say? A pilot program. They don't do this in a lot of business. When you run it, you want to know, are you making any money?
Right.
And I wanted to know, are we doing good? And we were.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how it worked.
Was
it was
60,
more than 60. It was 600,000.
Okay, so that was
In 6
considered
months,
pretty
100,000 a month.
That's $500,000,
Yeah,
right? So
in 6 months.
yeah, so that's considered pretty good, I would think.
It was considered outstanding.
Yeah.
They expanded the program. Yeah, I don't know if it's in existence anymore. Looking at a bank now. So when Burlingame Bank and Trust was being built down here in formation, Mike Harvey and a lot of the guys here decided to build a bank, and it was going to be right down the street from us, not on Chapin, on the cross street. What's that? It's not. Is it Lawton?
Is it Primrose?
Primrose. There
Yeah,
you go.
Primrose.
It was on the corner of Primrose and something or other, and it was it wasn't a bank yet. It was just in formation.
Right.
So Armacross was also a buddy of all these guys because he lived in Hillsborough, and he decided he wanted to have somebody down there that could bring a group in or manage a group there to take care of the good customers at the Burlingame,
Right.
BofA. And Aldo was retiring, so it was a nice fit for me. And so he introduced me to Rotary.
Yeah.
He was in Rotary, and he says, you need to be in Rotary. I said, thank you. And so he introduced me and showed me the ropes. He was with me for about a month when we made the transition. I had, in the area we were, I had the people that were going to be in my special group, and there were 3 of them. I had them in a special section. We built cubby holes for them. So the general public could come. If they wanted a car loan, they'd go to one of the other loan officers, but they just couldn't wander into this other area.
Right.
Just as an aside, I'm probably going to lose train of thought, and I forgot to write it down. For one day, BofA, Burlingame was BofA headquarters. After the earthquake in '89, I got a call I had gotten to know a lot of the executive officers. And at the time, it was not Armacross, he'd already gone, but it was, oh God, what was his name? He was the one they brought back, Tom Clausen, who lived in Hillsborough. Well, when that earthquake hit, Clausen and his group had to walk 40 floors down. Nice having a 40-floor view, but the earthquake, they couldn't. There was no elevator.
Right.
They walked down, and they couldn't get back in the building the next day. So he took his secretary home and some of the others overnight because the bridge was down. Remember that? And secretary called me and said, "Can Tom use your office during the day if he needs to do any work?" And I said, I'm going to tell the president of the Bank of America no. I said, absolutely. And I had a private office. And he came down maybe for a couple hours and did work from there. Kind of funny.
How long was it headquarters then? Was it
Oh,
temporary?
2 hours maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I joke about it, but
Yeah.
only because he just came from his house down.
Right.
And
but eventually they were able to reopen the thing in the
Oh,
city.
yeah. I think the next couple of days
Yeah,
they did.
okay.
But it took a while because they had to look for damage. Anyway, that's how. So I'm down there doing what I was doing. Got into Rotary, and that was a godsend. I also had that group formed. They were doing great. We protected a lot of our own assets from moving over to Burlingame. We were doing something none of the other banks in town were doing.
Right.
And so that was a big boon.
So the bank that Harvey opened up,
Yeah.
did that represent competition to you, though? Was that competition?
Only for the people that were being serviced, the 1.5% percentage.
Got it.
Okay? Because, again, that was a special group.
And whatever happened to that particular bank? Is it still around?
No, that bank closed. Didn't close. Long term, after about 5 years, the founders sold it to, I think it was a Burrell Bank. And they just kept it there as a Burrell Bank for a while. And then
As
eventually,
Burrell, right?
Yeah, Burrell.
Yeah, right.
At the Burrell Center.
Got it.
And eventually, they blended it into the bank they had. So it closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was only you didn't, the general public didn't go in. You when you get a checking account there, it would cost you like $30. Where
Yeah, correct.
In those days, it was like $3.
Yeah, it wasn't meant for guys like me.
Well, I don't, Mark. If I had your money, I'd bring mine.
All right, Frank. You've been a resident in Burlingame since 1988. That's about 37 years.
Correct.
And a local banker, of course. So what are some memorable changes that you've seen in the community over the years?
Well, I mean, you see good and bad in the community as a whole. First of all, there's far less banks. I guess that's good. I don't know. Banks actually transitioned from being, I think, more of a professional place where you had people that made loans, had the authority. Like when I was here, I could make a loan up to $1 million, and my officers were about $250, and anything over, I would $250,000, and anything over, I would be able to approve with them. Right. And anything over $1 million, I'd have to go up to a headquarter type thing. So that's a big transition because now most banks are retail stores. And there's nothing wrong with retail stores, but their job is to sell.
Yeah.
In fact, my last few years was not very rewarding because I was trained to be a salesperson.
Sure.
And that wasn't what we were before. But that's the kind of competition.
That's what it evolved into.
With the advent of computers and what they can do, you could only have fewer lending officers, and they could be at a central location. So if somebody here takes a loan and maybe has to gather documents and that sort of thing to transition over to the lending authority, and they would approve it, and then the documents would be sent to the local bank, and they would just have the people do the signing.
You mentioned Aldo earlier, the fellow that you took the...
Simonetti?
He was... What's his name? Simonetti, right?
Simonetti, yeah.
Yeah. He was the manager, and you took his place in Burlingame, but you mentioned that he recommended that you join Rotary, correct?
Yeah.
Was he sort of a mentor to you? I mean, did you know him very well?
Well, I mean, for years I saw him at
Right.
Rotary,
Uh-huh.
and eventually I don't know. We've lost.
Did you have any early mentors that mentored you into the banking industry?
Yeah, I told you about the first guy, Ev Murch.
Right. He was a big part of your...
He's the guy that taught me how to delegate.
Right.
I became an A1 delegator. Trying to think of who. I had Bernie Alyssa Gary, who was a manager at the Bank of America here when I transitioned out from the training officer job, and he had been the training officer job 6 years before. I replaced, and then he was at Stone Sound as the assistant manager before he came here, and I replaced the Stone Sound guy who took Bernie's job. Well, Bernie was a go-to guy. I knew that when I came out of the regional headquarters, you always had a certain aura about you that you're on the inside. So I was afraid of myself, knowing that I could delegate, that I wanted to be put with somebody that I could learn everything I could to be a good banker. Mm-hmm. And Burlingame had everything, car dealers, small business, big business. It had everything. So I wanted to, because I had to learn loans. And I knew Bernie wouldn't let me skate. He'd make sure I learned how to open a new account and how I knew I could make a loan. In other words, he made sure that I was dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. We were friends, good friends, but I also know that he was a good guy, and he would not just fast me through.
Right.
And I wanted that kind of discipline for myself.
Yeah.
Because I knew what places that would be good for training as a training officer and which ones would not be a benefit. Because they'd be more counting on me as an insider type of thing.
It sounds like you aligned yourself with some pretty good teachers or mentors.
Really important.
Yeah.
Really important.
Very much.
I think in any business, you know, you learn.
Let's talk a little bit about your time in nonprofits, because you were pretty heavily involved in the nonprofits
I'm glad
on
you
the
asked.
peninsula, okay? And I really want to know, what inspired you to commit your time and energy to those organizations?
Well, once I got into Rotary, that taught me about service, really, being service, and the Chamber of Commerce. I was asked to come on the board when I got here or there. You know, I was in Rotary, but later I was asked to come on the board by Karen Key.
Yeah.
And she was the executive director. I don't know if you know the history, but the chamber at one point, before she came, the guy that was there took all the money and ran. Did you know that?
No, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
And we won't mention any names.
No,
okay?
I don't even know his
Right.
name. All I know
that's
is
crazy.
All
Wow.
I know is
He took the money and ran?
yeah.
Wow.
So this, just an aside before I know I'm probably taking a hell of a lot of your time.
Don't worry, Frank. It's your show, okay?
Yeah, okay. But Karen, at one point when I became the treasurer, she said, we have to go to the city's Saturday morning budget meeting for our budget. So I didn't understand it, but I said, okay, I'll meet you there. We went down on Saturday
And
with
this
our
is for the
budget.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, the Chamber
right.
of Commerce going to the city.
Right.
So we go, and the fire department chief's there, police chief, city manager, park department. They're all there.
Yeah.
I'm sitting thinking, why in the heck are we here? So they asked this question. They looked at our budget. Vic Mangini said, I noticed you're using a lot more paper than usual. And they were nitpicking stuff in our budget. And I go, so afterwards, we go back to the office, and I go, Karen, why are we even going to that? We're independent now, you know. Mm-hmm. It's something that there was a contract signed after this guy left because to keep the Chamber of Commerce afloat, they gave the chamber a contract to take referrals from the city if a person called in about schools, if a person called in about housing. The chamber was answering those questions for him. They put on a city dance for him. They used to have Miss Burlingame contests. The chamber was doing all this for a contract that I said, how much time do you spend on phone calls from the city? Why are we telling people about the city of Burlingame on this contract? Well, we did. I said, for 2 months, I want you to log the number of calls. Well, we got through that $10,000 contract. We were losing money.
Right. In other words, the city floated you some money. Is that what it was to keep the chamber
The city
going?
was still paying us,
right,
as if we were, and that's why we were going to a budget meeting.
Right, I got
so
it.
So the next year we went to a budget meeting. I said the contract now is going to be $50,000. You should have saw their face drop. I remember Gloria, somebody, she was on the she was one of the city council. Contract? What contract? I'll never forget that screech. I said, this one. I said, we're doing this much work for you. Now, we're not going to charge you that.
Yeah.
But if you want us to be under contract, it's going to be 50. We'll do your work this year for 20.
Right.
But we're substantial. We had money in the bank. We were fine.
Yeah.
And that ended the contract. Now,
so what were some of the nonprofits that you got involved
Well, let me
with?
just show you a few. Burlingame High School Accreditation Committee and Chair of Community Self-Study. Easter Seals of San Mateo County, which evolved, obviously. Burlingame Rotary Club, City of Burlingame Civil Service, State Assembly. Some of them aren't nonprofits. They're
Right.
just things I did. Jackie Shearer's Small Business Advisory Committee. Whenever she was on the business committee for the state.
Yeah.
When she was at the state
Uh-huh.
level. And when they had bills they were thinking of passing, they would go to the committee, and she would present them to us, send them down in advance, and then we'd have a breakfast. And it was Mike Harvey, Greg Mendel, Joe Fiducci from South City Ford, a couple other guys. We'd meet with her. And in fact, she had a baby at that time after her unfortunate passing of her husband. Yeah. And we would go over the contract. We'd be looking at it and say, this is a good bill or a bad bill, and the highlights of it and so forth. And try to talk from the small business guy's perspective.
You had breakfast with the heavy hitters, it sounds like to me. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was there because of Harvey and Mendel.
Right.
And Burlingame. I wasn't a heavy hitter.
That's okay.
I was just, anyway, they made me a heavy hitter. United Way chairman of San Mateo County in 1985. Led the campaign in 1986, trying to raise $750,000. Mills Peninsula Hospital Advisory Board. Music Cove Mansion Board of Directors. They hadn't even incorporated. They wanted to meet. They met in my office. I'm trying to think. Sister Amy. She was a character. I said, "Are you guys incorporated? Are you No." I said, "Well, you better if you want to protect your butts." So then they did the same thing in formation, and one of the attorneys set it up.
While you're telling me about all these nonprofits that you were involved with, how did you balance work and the nonprofits at the same time? It sounds like you had to be away from work a lot.
Well,
and I know you had a good team behind you, but still, don't they expect you to be in the bank for a certain amount of time too?
Well, the answer was yes and no. The answer was you're supposed to be doing all these things, but you're the one that has to figure it out. Now, a lot of the stuff you did after hours or at the lunch hour. When I was asked to head up the United Way campaign, that was because Sam Arnikoff, the president of the bank, was the chair of the Bay Area. So he had his own corporals, if you will, heading up San Mateo County, Oakland, Alameda, Marin County, and we didn't go down to Santa Clara.
But these things can be quite time-consuming.
Well, yes, and it was time-consuming for San Mateo County because the man that was supposed to head it up was the CEO of Sprint. And Sprint at that time, a fledgling cell phone company, was having problems. He had been 3 weeks absent and told Arnikoff, "I can't do it."
Right.
I was 3 weeks behind when I started, had to report to Sam Ginn of Fackville about my tolls that we were raising in San Mateo County.
Yeah.
We hadn't raised a dime. There was no organization. The local office here, guy came out, gave me a book, a binder, said, "You got to fill in all these slots." What it was an organizational chart with my name at the top. And lots of blank spaces, and I mean blank. So I said, "Who did this last year?" He said, "A guy named Bob Rodriguez of AT&T, who's over." I said, "What's his phone number?" I called him up. Nicest guy I ever wanted to be. He was right next to Molly Stone's at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was Lucky Store before you were
Yes,
there.
correct.
So where the brick building is?
Yes.
That was AT&T, Fackville's local San Mateo County office.
Right around the block from us on the avenue.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Right next to the parking lot.
Yeah.
And there's a Shell gas station there.
Yeah.
So I called him up, nice guy. I said, "Did they do this every year, reinvent the wheel, Bob?" He goes, "Yeah." He said, "I'll come over. We'll get this filled out." Bob Rodriguez, just an aside, when he put himself, he was, Dr. Bob Rodriguez, because he had a PhD. When he put himself through San Francisco State, he played in a van down in the International Settlement. And he wrote a song that some people of our age might know called Little GTO and recorded it.
You're kidding. He wrote that song?
Yep. You look at the label, you'll see V. Rodriguez.
Oh, my goodness.
And they were one-hit wonders, but it was fine.
He's probably still making royalty off it, though.
I wouldn't doubt it every time it's used.
Yeah.
Good guy, great guy. We became fast friends. I said, "Who would you suggest take my place? Let's get him on board now, and he doesn't have to do anything. Just shadow me."
He's just shadow, right?
And there was no succession planning. How stupid! They're going to have a campaign every year, and they didn't think about that. It was just calling somebody, and they'll jump in. So we did success, and he got Tom, who was the manager for PG&E, and they used to have a big facility down in San Carlos. You could see it from the freeway, where they stored all their equipment.
Right, the trucks.
And Tom was great. So the three of us became fast friends. We did everything together. We went out to dinner and they helped me tremendously. Tom took on doing actually some of the fundraising too. So that got me. I told you that I had a goal of $750,000, and I told everybody that worked for us we're raising $1 million. And we came up 980 at the final total. If I'd have known, I'd have come to you and you'd have written me a check. I know, yeah.
Frank, absolutely.
You want to give me a check now, I'll take it.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, one thing I liked that I did was at the bank, I created the Crocker Corner. When you came in the bank where the ATMs are, at the BofA Burlingame,
Yep.
I dedicated that corner to Crocker High School. Of course, I probably had some ulterior motive.
Right.
But I would have things like a lot of their art displays by their kids.
Yeah.
we had some of their music people come down like on a Friday afternoon, play from 3 to 6.
Very good.
Yeah, so it was a very
You wanted
beneficial.
to lure some of those parents in, right?
Well, there was a thing called Adopt a School in San Mateo County,
Oh, cool.
and I was on the board of that.
Yeah.
And the idea was you take on a school and help them.
Yeah, you pick
So I
the
talked
right
to
schools.
I talked to the principal out there, and she thought it was a great idea. I did. We had a big sign made that was a beautiful sign, Crocker Corner, and it stayed around for a few years. Then parents would come in and maybe open an account or something.
Yeah.
But, it was nice. It was beneficial to both.
Excellent public relations.
I also started the United States Corporate Athletic Association. When I was in BofA downtown, before that, when I got into running, I started the Bank of America running team. And we competed. The Runner's World magazine had a corporate Olympics because Olympians couldn't get money at that time. Now they get paid. They're pros. But back then, the idea was, the guy known Runner's World was to hire people that had Olympic aspirations and talent and have a company pay 40 hours, give them 20 hours of work, 20 hours to train. So they'd be prepared, because now we were getting our butts kicked by the Eastern European countries.
Right.
Under the Russia.
Because they had some kind of like professional athletes.
Well,
in a sense.
most of their athletes were in the military.
Yeah, and
which
they
meant
trained
all they
all
did
the
is
time
train
and-
24/7.
Right.
Yeah. So that was good. So we started United States Corporate, myself and two other guys, the guy from Lockheed and the guy from AT&T.
What year was that?
God, it had to be late, and maybe mid 80s.
So you hadn't got to Burlingame yet. You were still in this.
No, I was in Burlingame.
Oh, you were?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Frank, I know that you were on the Burlingame Civil Service Commission. Can you tell us a little bit about what your role was and what were some of your accomplishments while you were on the Civil Service Commission?
Well, first of all, the Burlingame Civil Service Commission is an adjunct body to the city, and it mostly deals with personnel. At least in my time, I was chairman of that one period, and it would be things like a good example would be hiring fire department, police department. Part of their job when they're being hired is, besides doing the written interview, oral interview, they also have to demonstrate physical agility. And it used to be done, I don't know where it's being done now, but it used to be done, for example, at the Burlingame track. At the Burlingame track, at the end of the track, they had a huge, looked like a wall. And they also, what they would do is they bring the candidates, men and women, and somebody from the Civil Service Commission would have to be at this event to make sure that all of the candidates were treated equally, because men and women now are included.
Right, right.
And one of the things they would have to do, for example, they had a dummy that weighed 150 pounds.
Have to throw it on your shoulder or something?
Didn't matter how you got it there. It was like, say, 50 meters down the track,
You just
and
gotta
the
get it
candidate
there.
had to bring it and lift it onto a table that had been set up, say, at the finish line. And they were given so many seconds to get that done. So if they couldn't lift it on their shoulder, they could drag it, they could do anything they wanted, but that was something that to get done.
Yeah.
As far as that big wall that used to sit down there, I always wondered what it was when I was running. But it was, you had to run down to it, jump up, pull yourself over. Now, some people, unfortunately, couldn't do that.
It's a challenge, that's for
so
sure.
Anyway, that was just one example.
I remember that
We
wall.
also reviewed applications. We sat in on orals. If there was a disciplinary action of a major nature, there was one case where, and I don't remember, I certainly wouldn't say the name, but somebody that worked for the city doing the job, on the job, I should say, got stopped and was a DUI
Oh, boy.
during hours.
Yeah.
And
Well,
was
during
doing a
hours.
city job. And so then they had to go before city council. They had to go before us with their legal advisor, usually a union rep, and make a case why they shouldn't be relieved of their duties.
Right.
So that was very, very rare. That was a rare one. But, just different things. If there was an injury.
How many people were on the commission at that time?
I think there were 5 of us.
Yeah.
And they were all obviously local. You applied for it.
Yeah.
They would advertise. I presume it's still around. I don't know.
I'm not sure either, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
I didn't look that up.
Back then, it was predominantly, male men applying for these police jobs. Were there any women back then applying for those jobs? There were.
They were just beginning.
Yeah, just beginning.
For both the police and the fire.
Yeah.
So
right.
again, they had to be treated equally.
Yeah.
Which meant if they could do what they could do,
Yeah.
they passed muster.
Absolutely.
And it didn't matter whether they could necessarily lift the person, as long as that was a heavy thing they even dragged down the track.
Yeah.
No, it was.
Believe me, I don't know if I could do it. Okay. Anyway, at the track, running. You mentioned running and all that. You have a passion for running, and you kind of started running late in life, right? A little later in life.
Yes, I started at age 39 and a half.
Yeah. What prompted that? What was the motivation?
I'm going to be 40.
Yeah.
I got to get in shape.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, so that was it. I'm at a New Year's Eve party, and 3 or 4 of us were talking and said, you know what, we got to start running the first day after the New Year's over.
Right.
The New Year's Eve functions are over.
Yeah.
So we'll meet at Cappuccino High School, 6 in the morning, and run a mile. So sure enough, the first day, I think 5 of us showed up.
Do you remember who some of those guys were?
God, I wish I could.
Okay, that's all right. That's
I
all
look
right.
back.
Yeah.
I do remember by the end of the week, maybe that's why I forgot the names, I was the only guy there. And believe me, we could not run a mile. We got maybe, first of all, you start out like you're going to run a 100-yard dash.
Yeah.
And you get maybe 100 yards, and now you're gassed.
Yeah.
Because we're all overweight. I probably weighed 175, 80 pounds.
Yeah.
And then we said, maybe we better walk a mile. So we did. And then, like I said, day by day we got fewer in number. But I liked it, and I decided I want to keep up with this. And I knew nothing about actual running. I never ran in high school.
Right.
Or college. And so, I was running Converse All-Star low-cut shoes.
Looking good, man.
Oh, yeah. And cut-off pants, no shorts.
So you continued on by yourself at the Cappuccino track?
No, what I did was I decided I didn't want to run at 6 in the morning. I'll do it after work.
Uh-huh.
So I started doing it after work. And that's when I really got hooked.
Right.
I go over to Mills High School, putting together this is what I used in high school, telling the kids, starting out, you're putting together a puzzle. You're getting yourself in shape, the ones that are brand new. Don't be worried how long it takes you. It will take you some, if you haven't been running. Don't measure yourself against anybody else.
Right.
So I always teach people, and I still advise to adults, anybody that wants to start, do it piecemeal. Jog maybe 40 or 50 meters, jog. Then walk the turn.
Yeah.
Jog. Walk again. Jog. Toward the middle or end of February, I was up to 2 miles on the track. I mean, it happens your body, I lost like 10 pounds first, because you adjust your diet too.
And you're into it now.
Oh yeah, now I got shoes. I met Obi
at
the store, who I ended up coaching with the Burlingame at the store.
So you're talking about Steve O'Brien.
Steve O'Brien,
Obi to everybody here in Burlingame. And you said you met him at the store. That was the running store that he was managing?
Yeah, right across the street from the
high school.
I think it was Runner's Feet.
Right.
And he was the store manager.
Yeah.
And he put me my first set of running shoes.
Yeah.
And, made a big difference getting out of the Converse All-Stars. Because they were built for running.
Right.
And, that was a good friendship I built, because it ended up working, ended up coaching with him.
Right.
And he taught me a hell of a lot. Then I was taken off the track by a friend named Herb Ashton. Herb was actually All-American High School, All-American Community College, All-American College in the 400 and the 200.
Was he a local guy?
Yeah, he went to Jefferson and then Mills.
Okay.
I married his second wife, too. No, his first wife. She was my second wife. Anyway, that's another story.
It's another story, another podcast, right?
But Herb says, Frank, because he ran with me a couple of times on the track, and he said, let's go. It was holiday. He said, I'll take you up to Sawyer Camp Road, South Sawyer Camp. Now, Sawyer Camp at that time was still dirt, not paved. And cars periodically went on. What I didn't know is he had marked the road off. There were no measurement goal. Like now it's every 800 meters there's a signpost.
Uh-huh.
He also trained Boy Scouts in Hillsborough, in Boy Scouting, and took them out for runs. So he had spray-painted trees up high at every half mile.
No kidding.
Now, I didn't know that at the time.
Right.
So we go out for a run. He says, you'll be able to do this. We go out for a run. We get out there, and I go, man, this is harder than I tried. Nice.
Right.
Because time goes by.
It does.
Scenery changes. We get out there, and I said, we got to go back. I'm hurting. So we turn around. Now I'm really hurting. I didn't know we had a half mile to go. He goes, well, we're almost there. Now the 2 turns, and you were there. Okay, I'll make it. Force myself. I didn't want to give up. We get to the end. He goes, congratulations, Frank. You just ran 4 miles at 8:23 a mile.
Wow.
I said, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I said, you rat. And that's how
great?
I got into really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
And then I started serious training. And a few years later, I was running in front of 11,000 people at the Cow Palace. I also ran track besides running road races. So I go to track meets and run as an independent.
So you were doing this while you were working at the bank, though?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Amazing.
This is my weekend stuff.
Became your passion.
And to run at the Cow Palace, over 40, they had a division. The first year I tried it, I was down at the Bruce Jenner track meet at San Jose, and I wanted to break 5 minutes. I had to break 5 minutes. I didn't. And so the next year, it was going to be at Berkeley. And I really started training for the break 5 minutes in the mile. For over 40
So you were running the mile then?
running the mile.
Uh-huh.
So you're running less than 75 seconds a lap.
Yeah.
Which now seems like I never could do that, but
Right.
I was doing it. So I had to come in 8th at this meet.
To qualify.
Right. When I showed up, there were only 8 of us. I said, I'm in like
I'm going to make
burglar.
it.
Yeah. Then right before the meet, 3 guys showed up.
Oh.
Now make it 4, there were 12. And
Yeah.
I said, now I'm screwed. So we ran. My shoe came untied with 600 meters to go, and I was like in 6th or 7th place. And I go, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I knew I couldn't stop and tie it.
Right.
And it kept hitting the lace kept hitting my other foot. So I stuck it out, and I came in 7th, and I made the cut. I ran 4:51 or something.
Wow,
Really went through the 5-minute mile.
With the shoe on.
So then I got to run at the Cow Palace on a 160-yard track, very confined. You had to do 10 laps versus 4 on a track. And never knew where you were except the guy calling out the splits. But he had to move around because 400 meters change every time. And my goal was to not come in last there because they brought 8 of us, but they also had 4 guys that traveled with the group that was always going around, because the next night they were in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And,
this particular track meet that you ran at the Cow Palace, what was that called? What was that?
Oh, the Examiner Games. It was
the
sponsored.
Examiner Games.
Yeah, they were trying to support the non-professionals. So let's say somebody was an Olympian already, and they were a shot putter. They'd give them 4 first-class seats to fly out from whatever city.
Yeah.
And they could turn the tickets in
Wow.
for a refund.
I remember going to one of those games.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, O.J. Simpson ran the 100-yard dash
Yeah.
the year I was there, and Bob Seagren, the great pole vaulter.
Yeah, you might have seen me.
Maybe so.
You didn't know me, but
No.
oh,
that's
just
funny.
pretend you did, and I'll make me feel good.
I remember you, Frank.
Thank you.
Anyway, so you got into running heavily.
Yeah. Ended up running, qualified for the Boston Marathon. Back then, you had to run 3:10 if
Right.
you're over 40.
So you qualified. Did you run it? Did you go back and run it?
Oh, yeah.
Good for you.
Absolutely. You had to qualify. I ran up at the Stockton Marathon, flat, except going up onto their little trail that runs along the river up there, and you're really just going up a curve. But it was a brutal marathon because you passed the finish with 1.5 miles to go, meaning you had to run out No, 3 miles to go. It was a mile and a half out and back.
Got it.
So you're seeing people finishing, and you
I know.
still have.
You
I mean,
still gotta-
psychologically, it was a killer.
It's a
And
tough
by
one.
that time, my legs were just dead.
Right.
But I had a friend that ran me the first 10,000, and then he ran with me the last 10,000.
Yeah.
So that
was
was
nice.
Really helped me,
Kinda give
and
you a
he kept me
pace.
going. I
Right.
wanted to stop at the turnaround.
How many marathons did you
I ended
run
up doing
altogether?
5.
5, yeah.
But working full time and trying to be
Hard.
competitive.
And plus your nonprofit going on and all that.
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of
everything was going on. I mean, it wasn't like, I was trying to get in 60, 70 miles a week.
stuff. Did you run San Francisco?
Oh, yeah,
What year?
a couple of times. Back in the
80s?
80s, yeah.
Okay.
I qualified for, Boston now, the qualifying time, I think, is 3:20.
Right.
Back in my time, it was 3:10.
Yeah.
Things happen.
So tell me this. Who were some of the Peninsula legends that you ran with?
Well, Steve O'Brien, of course.
Yeah.
Lauren Gustafson from Mills High School, who ran also for Stanford.
Uh-huh.
And Jackie, of course, that you had on,
Jackie Cook.
She ran for Cal.
Right.
I missed coaching her, but I did coach Lauren and Jackie and a lady by the name of Diane Harlick at Mills High School.
Okay.
That ran at Mills.
Did you ever run with Alan Stanbridge?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alan was in the world of his own.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard his broadcast, of course, and 125,000 miles.
Yeah.
You know what? He had an easy way to do it. I had the hard way. Right now, I'm stuck at 30,500 and something. But it's been a long time getting there from 20.
Yeah, he used to run from home to well, you heard it.
Yeah, I heard,
run from home to school and back.
no.
Crazy.
But I don't know if we might have raced against each other, but he was always younger than I was.
Yeah. Did you ever run with Bill Frisbee? Is that?
Oh, yeah.
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 Another cappuccino guy.
Yeah, see, I ran the Mills High School Turkey Day trot, which they never really advertised. It
Right.
was just internal. And those guys would always be there, and they were in their 30s, and I was in their same age bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, so they'd beat me, both
Yeah.
him and Ovi. Then when I got into my age bracket, I was beating the guys that were in my age.
Right.
Because it was, I think, 45 to infinity. Yeah. I got a couple of turkeys out of that. I beat a guy that was a famous runner from Skyline College. And I say famous now, I forgot his name. But he was the coach up there, not the guy I coached with. But I'll never forget the last time I won the turkey trot, he was ahead of me, and I really hadn't been training like I used to.
Was the turkey trot like a 5K or was it a 10K? Do you remember?
It was whatever they made it each year.
Right.
They changed the course because of construction and other things.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, the course was always different. And one time you ran around the tennis course once. One time you ran around the bottom grass once. Right. Another time you did both. Anyway, long story short, I'm coming around the tennis court to go down on the grass to come back up. And I see, God, what was his name? I'll probably remember when I go home. I see him ahead of me. Bob Luhadi, famous coach. Coached a lot of really good athletes. And he's on the grass. I said, I'm going after him. Whatever I got left. We come around, we go up the hill. I'm behind him. We go up the hill onto the at that time still was a dirt track. I'm right steps behind him. And we were finishing at the finish line. And he turns his head and I go by him and I beat him by 2 steps.
As he turns his head, you go by him?
Absolutely.
That's great.
He says to me, he didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he was. He said, you know how many people I've coached in my life? And I was always told, he said, I saw your shadow and I just wanted to see how far you were. I won the turkey and I got the trophy and he got the medal.
That's a great story.
Anyway.
Yeah. What was your best time in the mile?
Probably about 4:45, I think 4:46.
Good mile. And what about your best time in the marathon?
3:01
Very
San
good.
Francisco.
Yeah.
That was my last one.
Yeah.
And I was close, but coming up Market Street, I was dead.
Yeah, it's
dead.
It's a tough haul.
And your quads go. My quads were just shot.
Yeah.
They talk about, when you hit 20 miles and you realize you have to run 10,000 meters, it's psychologically, you got to be tough.
Frank, I ran one marathon in my life because when you're a runner, you have to run a marathon.
Absolutely.
Right? I ran 1984 San Francisco Marathon. I was 35 years old at the time. 4 hours and 23 minutes, dude. Okay, you don't have to tell me what that run down Market Street was like. I was dying.
Yeah,
okay?
no, I ran that one too, but I was in having coffee and getting
half the people I know already went home showering. Okay,
the fact you did it, absolutely.
That's all that mattered to me.
It makes you feel fantastic.
They give you that great T-shirt, that big old medal. That's all that mattered to me.
Yeah.
And I ran the one and only that I ever wanted to do. Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So eventually you retire from Bank of America.
Correct.
Okay, after 37 years of working and all that good stuff, and you got into coaching.
Yep.
How did that happen? How do you get into coaching?
Well, I got actually by mistake. At BofA, I call myself the coach, but I was really the organizer.
Right.
And we had some really outstanding runners. I had a woman that was 10th in the Olympic trials for the marathon, Mary Taylor Allen, Maryland. I had another guy that was on the world record holder 4x800 meters, Malcolm Cleary, whose mother was the famous children's book writer in Carmel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Malcolm. I had a guy from England named Brendan Gallagher, who was like the fourth or fifth fastest 5,000 meter runner in the world. So the bank had a lot of interesting people like that.
Sounds like.
So I organized that. Anyway, I get this, not an email, I get a snail mail from Skyline College. Mike Fitzgerald asked me if I wanted to come out encouraged me to come out for the cross-country team up at Skyline. So I read it, immediately crumpled it up, threw it in the ash can.
Right.
So then I said, gee, the guy sent me this. He has the wrong guy, but I should call him and just let him know you got the wrong guy. Call him up. He said, no, I got the right guy. He said, the internet wasn't big. All the races were published in the newspaper, the big ones.
Yeah.
And he said, you still run under 7-minute mile in a 5K? I said, yeah, I can run 6:30. I was 60 years old, 61 maybe. And he said, well, that's fine. Did you run in college? No, I didn't. He said, then you have 2 years eligibility.
No kidding. That's how that worked out?
And he said, yeah. He said, all you really have to do is take one class, and I build the rest of the points up through your life experience, through a couple other, being on the team. There was ways you get the points you need. So he encouraged me to come out, so I did. And during the summer, he had a conditioning program that was open to anybody. It was a class. And so there were a lot of people there that weren't really runners, that were just... But he had a lot of people that were going to run.
Right.
He recruited older people. His theory was that the younger people of the immediate schools, if they were really good, they were going on to a 4-year school.
Right.
And so he looked for older runners. In fact, we took a team to the state championship that average age was 42 years old, women.
That's
but
crazy.
One was an Olympian from France, Genentech scientist. The other was the owner of the running store.
Wow.
Who was a record holder up at Skyline. CSM. Sean. Anyway, he found these people. We had a girl that was, her husband worked for Sports Illustrated. He was their basketball guy. Anyway, long story short, he basically recruited older people. So that's how I got started. We practiced, and on the last practice, we ran ran from Skyline to Sears in Thames Rams Park.
Really?
Yeah, I found it down, and on the way back, my knee was hurting.
Yeah.
So he would drive, and if somebody was hurt or couldn't make it,
pick you up.
I said, my knee's really bothering me.
Right.
Pick me up, coach. So I went to the doctor after that, get checked. He goes, you're not running for a month. I said, we start cross-country at Skyline next week. He said, you're not starting. So I called Mike. I said, I can't run. I said, is there anything I can do to help out? He said, I'll make you assistant coach. I said, well, I'll do it for free. He said, no, I want you to be covered by the school. I'll give you $400. I said, I'll write you a check for $400 plus $400. So I gave him a donation plus my salary.
What a sweet deal that was.
It
For
was for
everybody.
both
That's
of
a
us.
win-win.
So I would coach up there at 8 in the morning and at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, because unlike high school, people are coming and going because most of them have jobs.
Right.
So, and we had older people.
Yeah.
So they did have jobs. So I would coach. He gave me the workouts. I would coach them on the workouts. Sometimes we did track workouts. Sometimes we did hills. Sometimes we did off-campus runs. But that's how I started. The second year I did it again, and I happened to run into Ovi, and I said, "You need any help at Burlingame?" I said, "I'd be happy to volunteer." And that's how I got started at Burlingame.
Did you do Skyline and Burlingame at the same time?
Just that 1 year. Because I was through at 12:30, and
Right.
Burlingame started at that then,
Yeah.
2:30. So it worked out perfect. And Ovi taught me everything I needed, almost everything I needed to know.
Yeah.
And stuff I shouldn't have known.
What
Anyway,
a great teacher.
absolutely. Great guy. Jackie, fantastic.
Yeah.
Lauren Gustafson, stay in touch with her.
But you coached for 25 years,
yeah.
right?
Burlingame from 2003 to 2009, 2009 till this past June at Aragon. Went to the state championship at Burlingame.
Did
with
you just
Ovi.
say this past June?
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
That is
Yeah,
terrific.
I ended up track. That's when you end. Because you coach
Right.
cross country in the fall, track.
Right. In the spring. Yeah.
So in Peninsula Athletic League, I think I coached 22 years and coaching 2 years with Skyline. So it's 25 year.
Are you still running?
Yes,
Actually running.
yes.
Terrific.
But I call it running. Other people might
I
not.
get it. But
No,
you,
I go
you still
to
get out.
24/7, 3 times a week at 3 o'clock. I try to stay with the time that I coach primarily.
Yeah.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I start by doing 4 miles on the bike. Then I transfer to a treadmill. But the way I run now is I walk 0.25, quarter mile, 1 lap. Then I run 2 laps. And then I walk 2 laps. And this past Monday, first time I did 4 half miles. So I got to 2 miles running.
Awesome.
My goal is to put all of that together and run the 2 mile
Yeah.
eventually. But I got to watch my body.
You said you're going there 3 days a week?
3 days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Terrific.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's...
Is your coaching over with, though? I mean, you were coaching at Aragon. Are you going back to coach again
Well,
next
I've
year?
offered my services to a couple of coaches that if they lose their assistant and they want somebody a couple of days a week,
Yeah.
that I'd probably take that on.
Is it volunteer work, or do you have to have...
I would do that
They have to
volunteer.
pay, huh?
I would do that volunteer.
Yeah.
I was really involved in getting Aragon onto the computers and all of our records. Burlingame's never done it, unfortunately.
Really?
There's a system. Well, they're on something called Athletic Net, but that's all picked up by Athletic Net. They load in all the high school meets and so forth.
Yeah.
So, but XStats is a paid-for service, and it also is a way I track kids that I coach when they would have to do their workouts every day, and then they'd have to post them on XStats, so I know how many miles they were booking and how they were doing time-wise and everything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fantastic. I give that site all kinds of kudos.
How old are you now?
86.
That's amazing. That is terrific motivation.
Yeah, no, but I would help out OLA Church. I talked to the pastor up there if they want any help.
Yeah.
That's a grammar school, and a couple of coaches in the PL. If they lose their, couple of them think they might
Right.
lose their assistant.
You're willing to jump in.
Absolutely.
Okay. Frank, if you don't mind, I'm going to flip back to your times in Rotary. You know, I was a longtime Rotarian as well.
Right.
And that, 99 up to 24, I think I left last year, resigned last year. But over the years, Rotary membership, Lions membership, they've kind of shrunk down. You know what I mean? I don't think young people are joining Rotary like maybe we did back in the day and all that good stuff. So what advice would you give to younger business owners or professionals about joining groups like Rotary, Lions, or the Chamber?
Well, first of all, I certainly understand in today's fast-paced world that it's difficult for people to get the time to do some of the things that I did. And that's really one of the main issues, I think. Sometimes they don't have knowledge of what these organizations do. Nobody approaches them. Or if they do approach them, they don't take the time to listen. And my advice would be, first of all, if you can give back in any way to your community that you're doing business in or living in, that's a gold standard. That's a gold standard for you and for the community. I was fortunate because, again, as I said, I lived in a whole different era when I was doing a lot of the stuff I did.
Right.
And I didn't even realize my time was being grabbed. Now that I think about it and look at this, what we just talked about, it was. But if you're a small business owner, it's a question of, can you make the time? Sometimes that's important. And one of the things I found out when I was down in downtown San Francisco was making time. Because remember, I mentioned I was in a group of 4 that we had very high-valued clients, and we needed to be available for them, certainly. But most of them were professional, like lawyers, doctors, business people.
Yeah.
And when I learned a lesson from that. If I wanted to see them, I had to call and make an appointment. So what I did, when they called me, one of the things I started doing is making appointments for the time I wanted. Now, the time I wanted was for me to be able to run at lunchtime when I was training for a marathon.
Smart, right?
And I said, we had a shower there at the building I was in.
Yeah.
And
That helps a lot.
That's another story in itself, because
Right.
everybody heard about it, but everybody knew where it was.
Yeah.
The manager had it. Anyway, I won't go into that now. So I would run at lunchtime and then take a shower, change my clothes, go back to work, and then at 3 o'clock, I'd go get a cup of coffee and a chocolate chip donut. That would be my lunch. But I would run every day from the bank out to Fisherman's Wharf and back. And so that got my training. So if let's say an attorney called me and said, Frank, I want to come down, it's 11:45. I want to come down and talk to you. I need a loan for 90 days. I'd say, great. I said, I'll be down in about 15. No, I said, unfortunately, I have another appointment. Come down at 1:30. So I started managing my time.
Good for you.
Now, if you're a small business owner, my advice would be, you may be able to manage your time. You're probably critical to your little business that it's probably big to you, but could be a small business. But you're critical of that. But you can manage part of that time for yourself.
Right.
Maybe giving back to the community. Usually, like a Rotary Club, a Lions Club, many of them meet at lunch. Some actually meet in the evening right afterward.
Uh-huh.
So there's that opportunity. Usually, a lot of the nonprofits meet at lunchtime, the committees and so forth. That's the time you could give your time. Or the board of directors meets after hours. So it was a happening thing back in my era, but I think time now becomes constraint for some people. But when I learned the constraint when I was downtown San Francisco working with a lot of professionals, I decided I was a professional and I had every right to make my time for me so I could get done something that was extremely important to me. If I said to somebody, well, come down at 1:30 because I'm going for a run, that wouldn't sound too professional. Yeah. If I said I have an appointment, that sounds professional. I had an appointment with myself. And that's one way, if you want to do something, and I would advise you to, if you're a small business person hearing this, that get involved, give back. It really means something. And you never know when it's going to pay you dividends in your business. I always had a rule. First thing I would do, if I was looking for something within my that I needed, I'd look in my community. Rotarians first, and then Chamber of Commerce members second.
Right.
I wanted to give business back to the people that I was with.
Yeah.
And I would advise the same, because you help each other. And that's,
in many ways, it comes back to you.
It comes back to you. Besides, you're meeting new people.
Right.
You do usually feel good about it when you start doing it. Yeah. And you don't realize just a little bit of your time is so valuable to somebody else and does so much good.
I got a couple of more questions for you. We're getting close to our time here. So, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received, and one that you wish you could give to everybody in the community? The best piece of advice you've ever received, and that you would love to share with the community.
That's a toughie.
I ask tough questions.
Well, besides learning how to delegate,
Yeah.
that would be
That's a very
for
good
a
piece.
working guy.
Right.
That was a very good piece of advice. But hearing the need that's out there that you read every day in the paper, whether it's seniors, whether it's high school kids, whether it's kids that are on the margin, that there's something out there. And the piece of advice was, if you see a place you can help, go do it. For seniors, I would say get involved with young people. And I mean teenagers. You could be a tutor. You could, depending, if you know anything about a sport, you could volunteer as a coach. But the idea is the kids need those kind of people around them. They can see that they're just real. Yeah, they have their mother and father in many cases, but that's different. That's their authoritarian figure. You're an authoritarian figure, but they're looking at you in a different light.
Right.
When I left coaching, every year when I left coaching at the end of cross country and track, I would get letters from the kids and their parents, thank you notes. And the best piece of advice they all seemed to come back to me was, you taught me more about life than just about running.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, and that really...
Isn't that great?
It is.
Well, Frank, I think I'm going to have to bring you back for another podcast, part 2, because I'm getting close to my time. And but before we go, why don't you give some shout-outs to family, friends, and colleagues?
Well, first of all, since my wife is sitting right here, I sure as heck better give a shout-out to her. She keeps me going, and I mean that sincerely.
Yeah.
I owe her more than I'll ever be able to give her.
That's terrific.
And that's my wife's name. Beautiful on the inside, beautiful on the outside. Second, and I would get in big trouble because these guys are all going to listen, my daily coffee group. Randy, Clark, Tim. Tim also works for the water department here. He's one of the supervisors.
Great.
Great guy. He reminds me I have to keep filling my swimming pool so he gets paid. I keep thinking I want to tap into the fire hydrants across the street from me. They have to flush it out every time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I could fill my pool. Anyway, and a guy named Darren who just joined us. So we meet usually, not Tim because he works, I better say that, but on Saturday he meets with us.
Where do you guys meet?
We meet at Happy Donuts.
Oh, terrific. San Mateo?
No, the Happy Donuts right at the Burlingame Plaza.
Oh,
we sit out there having...
You're right. I'm sorry. That's
where I met my wife, so
yeah,
it's a good place.
Yes.
And number one, the group keeps me a little bit sane because they can say anything to me and I can say anything to them. And we bounce things off each other.
Isn't that great?
And they're valuable. A lot of guys are handymen.
Yeah.
Get a water heater put in for gratis.
You know what, man? Always hang around with handy guys.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's another thing, speaking of things, the trades aren't going away.
No.
AI is not going to replace your water heater, I guarantee you.
No.
OLA Parish, they give me a lot of religious help, and I owe them a lot for my life and some of the life-changing events.
Terrific. That would be Father Michael on that group.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Certainly the friends and neighbors on my street that live in the immediate area, they know my situation with cancer. One of them owns the lobster place. He's brought me lobster bisque a few times.
Terrific.
Another one's an attorney across the street. He helps me out with trust information. We have a doctor now moving in across the street. Another one's a police officer. When I bought my Corvette years ago, I had to have, because it came from Texas, the paperwork for DMV was mind-blowing, and he was able to sign off on all of it for me. I want to make sure I don't miss any. Certainly, the people I've run with over the years, especially Ovi, Lauren. There was a girl, Vanessa Lordy. She ran with me. She was funny. She said, I'd like to get on to the Nike farm team down at Stanford in the 800 meters. I said, well, do you have she came one time to the Tuesday night workouts with the other adults. And I was coaching them at that time. She said, "Do you have any background?" This is a high-powered group. She said, "I'm the current record holder at Princeton University." Said, "Fine. What's your time now? I'll call." I got what the time they needed to get her to. I got her to that. She became a member of the Nike farm team.
Amazing. Good for you. Good for
Vanessa
her.
Lordy, and of course Diane Harlick and Jackie.
Yeah.
All of them. And I'm probably forgetting a myriad of people I've run with over the years. And they all helped me. Some of them helped me with advice because they were really good runners.
Right.
Other ones just kept me going when I needed to be. So very, very fortunate to be above dirt, at least right now. And I hope I can be for a few more years. But cancer is not a predictor of good things, usually.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Anyway, I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
Taking a chance on this little guy that...
Frank Hunt, 86 years old, still going strong.
Going. But thank you. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate what you do. I love your shows.
Thank you.
And
we'll have you back, Frank, for part 2, okay?
Yeah.
I know we left some things off the board here just because of time constraints, but we'll come back and do it again.
Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you very much for being here today, Frank.
Time's
really appreciate it.
Well, hopefully time's on our side.
It's on our side. We'll make it on our side.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to thank Frank Hunt, 86 years young, for being my guest today on a Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. Frank is going to be back in the spring so we can talk about his sports show that he hosted for Pacific Cable in the 80s and 90s. If there are a couple of takeaways from today's oral history, one would be please make an appointment with a dermatologist and have freckles and moles examined before it's too late. The life you save may be your own. And if you have any spare time, which seems to be a rarity nowadays, consider giving back to our community. There are several options available. Volunteering to assist nonprofits is just one option. Thanks to my Minister of Podcasts, Mike Nagler, Executive Producer Shelby Lucchese, Director of Marketing and Social Media Adrian Lucchese, and original music by Bray. This podcast was written and edited by Mark at the Mic and recorded on Tuesday, December 30th, 2025 at the Burlingame Public Library. The Burlingame Historical Society copyrights this oral history, and no part can be copied and replayed without the written consent of the Burlingame Historical Society. I'm going to take a couple of weeks away from the mic, but be back in mid-January with more oral histories as we enter into our 5th season of connecting our community. So until next time, everyone, see you around Burlingame. It's a small town.